What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to the main event of episode number 299 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. It's time for the August mailbag, where the questions that you have submitted for us, whether they were wrestling related or not, just wanted to pick our brains about a bunch of different kind of topics here, are going to be answered. Almost every single one of them. We did take about 20 or so off the list because they were kind of redundant, or we've talked about them already on like Takeover or SummerSlam or anything like that recently, but combined a little bit of some other ones, kind of figured out some other rewordings of some other things too, but we're pretty much going to answer just about everything you guys submitted, because mailbags are fun. We like to do these every single month, and the people that are going to be doing this edition, well, of course, I'm your host as always, Tony Mango, but we've also got Kaylin Ferris.
I am very happy to be here on the Tony panel.
Oh man, it's been a while since there's been a Tony panel.
Is this 299? What week are we in?
Yep, it's 299.
Hey, next week's a big one.
300s next week. Still taking suggestions of if anybody has an idea of what they'd like to see us do, but it seems like the running theme right now is to bring back the play the game.
Play the game.
So we might be doing that. Also on this edition of Mailbag, we've got Callum Wiggins.
Well, Smark Out Moment's old.
It is. Technically, we've gone past 300 episodes, if you count that there were about like 3 or 4 editions that I didn't number, because they were like specials before I thought about separating the specials and stuff. So
Doesn't
it was
count.
like one of them was like the Royal Rumble predictions for 1 week or something like that, where it was like, instead of episode number 34, it's the Royal Rumble predictions or whatever. And then you got to count all the end of the year awards. Those aren't numbered. So a couple of years worth of that. So we're at like really like 312 or something like that. But
I don't class those as canon.
Yeah, they're like Elseworlds type stories. But yeah, we're gonna just dive into this right now with the most recent set of questions. Silent Wood of Doom got them right in under the wire. Last night he actually sent these in.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, Silent Wood of bitch. First question: DuckTales, Rocco, and Hey Arnold are coming back in one way or another. What from your childhood do you hope returns in the future? My first reaction was the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons.
Yeah, right.
But if that doesn't count, The Critic. I used to love that show, and I think that nowadays, with everybody kind of being their own critic, and with movies being even more prominent than they ever were in the past, I think The Critic would be amazing right now. Even if it was on like some kind of Hulu or YouTube or like a paywall kind of thing or something like that, I think they could produce it pretty cheap, and John Lovitz still has the same voice, so who's to say they can't just kind of keep the same show going, That'd be my go-to one. What about you guys?
What from my childhood do I hope returns in the future?
A sense of hope.
Yeah, my wide-eyed innocence. The lack of dread. I don't know. A lot of stuff from my childhood has already returned. Like Transformers and Voltron and He-Man and G.I. Joe, and they remade all that shit, either in live action or cartoon before. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But one that I don't think that they remade, and I don't see any plans for, was Mask. Do you remember Mask? It was by Ken. They did it, and it was all the guys had vehicles that would transform, and they had masks with superpowers, and I don't know, it was kind of goofy, but I liked it. So
it's like a cross between G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Basically, yeah.
I'm surprised that they haven't tried to pitch that as like a movie. Or maybe somebody's pitched it, but nobody's bought it. You'd think that and like Voltron and Thundercats, like you'd think that those would be just guarantees at this point.
Well, they did redo Voltron and Thundercats, and they're on Netflix.
Oh, okay. That's why I haven't heard anything about them then.
And they've done several different Transformers, spin-offs and versions. And they did a He-Man one in, I think, like 2003, 2004, which didn't last very long. I liked it, but it didn't last very long.
Nowadays, you won't be able to do it because it'd be like, well, does he identify as He-Man? Could it be he-person? Side note about Transformers. When I was really little, I thought that they weren't saying robots in disguise. I thought they were saying robots in the skies. And I was like, only a couple of them are fucking planes. I don't get this. Most of them are trucks. Like, why are they robots in the skies? Like, it was like a 3-month period where I believed that, or some stupid shit like that. Callum, what about you? Anything from your childhood that you're kind of wishing comes back in the future?
When I initially thought of it, I was thinking The Muppet Show, but then they made like a Muppets version of The Office, which I actually enjoyed. I know a lot of people didn't really get it, but I actually enjoyed that when I was watching it back. There was a series called Xiaolin Showdown on the Cartoon Network. That was it was about these kids finding I think there were talismans or something along those lines, and it was a karate fighting series which I enjoyed, and it left off. I think it was cancelled after the show had been left on a big cliffhanger, and so I always hoped that it would come back and they'd resume the story, but they never did.
That was the Shaolin Showdown.
Yeah, great job. But one more. If I was given any kids show, it'd be Futurama. I'd bring that back.
See, that's been back so many times in the past that I kind of don't even count it as being something.
I know. And I wasn't the hugest fan of the more recent ones, but I always thought, like, out of all of Matt Groening's work, and even out of like the animated shows that are more aimed towards adults, that was always my favourite. And I think it always taught better lessons, and it had better actual narratives, I thought, than any of the Simpsons or Family Guys or your stuff like that.
Anybody see that Seth MacFarlane's doing another show, but it's a live action one this time? It's a Star Trek parody.
Yeah, I'm interested to check that out. It might be okay. It might be really terrible, but I guess we'll wait and see.
See, I've never liked Star Trek all that much, so I got a feeling I'm just not going to like the show. But
well, did you like Spaceballs?
No.
Well, what the fuck?
Yeah, Spaceballs is one of those movies that a lot of people love, and I just kind of look at it and go like, nah, it's not as good as everybody else says. But
was that more of a Star Wars parody anyway?
Yeah. I mean, I like the J.J. Abrams kind of offshoot movies. Those are really, really good. But the TV series to me was always just flat and boring. It was too nerdy for even me. Kind of like watching like a documentary, I guess. Or like if you would watch like a school special that would try to be like, oh, let's make this really cool for the kids, like that kind of thing. It was like a lot of talking about like phasers are stun mode and like this planet's got a class whatever society, and I'm like, just kill them, like just fight people. Like why can't a Jedi come through and just like start fucking people up with a lightsaber?
But you watch all those superhero TV shows. What's the difference?
Those have a little bit more nuance to them. You know, like Captain America's like a political thriller and stuff. Like Ant-Man's a comedy heist movie. So they kind of switch it up a little bit. Star Trek, it seemed like if you've seen 2 episodes, you've seen every episode.
Nah, I disagree.
I am going to potentially check out Discovery, though. Although, I'm not going to pay for it. So, it's counterproductive to what they want with CBS All Access. We'll get back to CBS All Access in a little bit with a Big Brother question. But second question here from Silent of Doom. What wrestler who languished in obscurity in the past would flourish right now?
John Cena.
Yeah. Who?
I don't know.
The prototype.
I couldn't think of anybody but Adam Bomb. And he's not really like obscure because he made a little bit of a mark, but he really didn't amount to too much. And I think a guy with his size and with a performance center nowadays, he'd be able to kind of, well, not only the performance center, but also the wellness policy. He would be in a much, much better position today.
See, I went through the list of rosters from different years, and I couldn't find anybody that I thought. I think most people who rose through the ranks, well, they didn't all deserve it, but I think the people who did deserve it did end up getting their spotlight. I might be able to find an example later on, but right now I can't think of any.
If Tiger Ali Singh. Just more along the lines that he's a better promo than Jinder Mahal, and so they might have pushed the India thing onto him instead.
Maybe. There's a couple people maybe around that time frame that could have done a little bit better.
Yeah, another one that popped in my head was Barry Horowitz.
Oh, Barry Horowitz. Well, he was like the jobber.
Yeah, I know that's like he has a place in history because of that, but I think jobbers, there aren't really jobbers today, but he had enough character about him that he might have been kind of where Heath Slater role is now.
I love in the 1996 Royal Rumble promo where they're all kind of doing that thing ahead of time where it's like Jerry the King Lawler's like, hey, you know what they call it, the Royal Rumble, because it's going to be won by a king. Me, ha ha ha, like that kind of stuff. And Barry Horowitz is the only one that's like, hey, I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to try, and whatever. And it's like, oh, Barry. Everybody else is like, there's a guarantee I'm going to fucking win. Vader's like, I'm going to rip everybody's heads off. Shawn Michaels is like, I'll be the only 2-time winner back-to-back and whatever. And Barry Horowitz is just like, I'm going to give it my best shot, but you also might be able to call me Barry Horriblewitz at the end of the night. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm such a letdown. Like, poor guy. I love how his theme is always that da 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 da. It's like, wonder what he's up to nowadays. Him and Duke the Dumpster.
Duke the Dumpster.
Question 3. What was your first crush in the entertainment world? Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Power Ranger. And she still looks so good, too. She's hotter now than a lot of people that are supposed to be, like, in their prime.
That's a good answer. A couple of them that came to my mind, first of all, were, like, Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Gremlins. Mia Sara, who played Sloane Peterson in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science. So, like, the mid-'80s movies.
Good choices.
Yeah.
I would go Cameron Diaz in The Mask.
Another standard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of like more of my era, the mid-'90s type of movies. And Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
When she was doing like that on Nickelodeon all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah, before she got all fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that, if they're young enough, Lindsay Lohan is probably their go-to.
Yeah.
Somebody just popped in my
Miley
mind.
Cyrus, some for like people that are quite young now.
Then they're all ruined now too.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have been a little bit older than what I am, what's her name from Back to the Future? And
Leah Thompson.
Yeah, because she is super cute.
Yep.
Yeah.
But she was kind of like just like a little older than like my age bracket would have been like targeting around that age. But she was in, what was it, Caroline in the City? I think that was the name of it. And I remember thinking that she was really good looking then. But I've still not seen Back to the Future, but I've seen like, obviously like clips and stuff. And between that and the way that she looks in Howard the Duck, which I've only seen parts of because there's no way I'm watching the full fucking movie.
Yeah, don't waste your time with that.
Yeah.
Guaranteed not to. But from what I've seen of her, I'm just kind of like, yeah, she is really, really cute. Like, I would have been so into her back in the day. But yeah, Pink Power Ranger, man. I remember having so many discussions with a bunch of friends and just being like, no, I'm going to be the one that marries her. No, I'm going to be the one that marries her. Imagine, 20-something years later, it's like, yeah, I still would.
You guys couldn't wait to stick it in the pink.
Well, along the same timeline as that, what about Kelly Kapowski?
Oh, yes. That was one that slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Actually,
you can't go wrong with that.
No. I quite like Elizabeth Berkley as well.
It's tough, kind of, because I thought that they were both sort of on par with each other, but I still always ranked Thiessen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And the other one wasn't bad looking either. Lisa, what's her name?
Turtle.
Turtle, I wanted to.
Yeah, she wasn't bad either, but she was definitely number 3, because it was just like, Tiffany Amber Thiessen was just kind of like, Jesus. And Berkley was like, hey, you're not getting enough credit. And then Turtle?
Yeah. Lark Voorhees. Yeah.
She was just kind of like, hey, don't skimp on third,
I think it was like the guys pursuing her as well, because they obviously made it out that Thiessen to be the hot one and Berkley to be the smart but cute one, and then she was being chased by Screech. So why weren't any other boys interested in her? Why would I be interested in her if no one else is?
It's the proximity effect. You put them next to each other, and you're just kind of like, yeah, nobody cares about her. Thiessen, what's up?
Aw, out of the way, you.
I love that joke. Kind of on the same boat here. What was the first movie, TV show / music that piqued your sexual curiosity? I could think of a couple different things, but I don't know about like the first necessarily. I remember thinking that Melissa Joan Hart and Clarissa Explains It All was good looking. The woman that ended up marrying Ben Stiller, I can't remember her name,
Oh
Christine
yeah,
Taylor.
yeah, she's cute.
In Hey Dude, she is friggin' pretty as hell. The women in the James Bond series, of course. Although when you look back in time and you kind of go like, yeah, a lot of them weren't really as hot as I kind of remember. Mostly Cara Malova and Solitaire were two of the main ones. I was just kind of like, ooh, man, they're hot. Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera were like the top of the game when they first came out, and that was like right at the right age range where I was just kind of like, who is this girl in the schoolgirl outfit dancing around? I'm kind of digging this. The Man Show was out when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. So girls jumping on trampolines, come on. And Baywatch, of course. I watched a couple episodes of that show, and it sure as fuck wasn't because of the story. What about you guys?
Let's see. Besides the things we've already talked about, movies and TVs, I see the one is music on there listed too. So I was trying to think of singers or bands or anything like that. So, going back to that time, I'd say definitely Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles, especially in that Walk Like an Egyptian video. Oh, so good. Belinda Carlisle from the Go-Go's, Samantha Fox, Debbie Gibson. I was an 80s kid.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go more like I was watching a lot of music videos in my early teen years, just like flipping through the music channels when I got home from school and stuff like that, just listening to what was on.
TRL.
So it's people like, yeah, pretty much like more MTV really at that point in time. So people like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Gwen Stefani, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. People along those sort of lines were probably the ones that like piqued my attention.
Mandy
Moore. Mariah Carey as well. Yeah, Mariah Carey as well.
Yeah.
See, I was never too into Mariah Carey. I always thought that she was really pretty, but I never really considered her like hot and sexy kind of. It was more like, wow, this beautiful woman's got a beautiful voice. That's great. Like, and then it would be like, like a Britney Spears type, and I'd be like, oh, I'd rag the shit out of her. Like, just kind of like, it was like these two different. Like, I almost like respected Mariah Carey too much a little bit.
No, if I we're doing something with Mariah Carey, I'd have to bring some duct tape with me.
You don't like her voice?
No, I was wondering if she orgasms, does she like make every pitch possible?
I was going to try to do an impression, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to be good.
See, when you said duct tape, my thought was not covering her mouth. It was just like completely immobilizing her. It's like, okay, well.
I mean, to be fair, that would probably help in the process, but I won't go that far.
Whatever you're into.
We sound like we're a bunch of sick people, but I think the bigger person to point fingers at is Silent Way of Doom.
Yeah, fuck you, buddy. You made us talk about this shit.
Well, next month, we're looking forward to your guaranteed at least one sexual question, because that seems to be a running theme with Silent Way of Doom here. Although,
the man knows what he likes.
At this point, it's like, what is that question going to be? You're kind of picking some stuff out of the blue. It'll be like, what's your favorite dumpster to fuck somebody in or something? It'll be like...
The one behind Arby's.
Let Arby's worry about it. We have another random sexual question later on. We'll get to that in a few questions here. From Mick Villarreal, 26. We've got 26. Yeah, I almost said 2016. When do you think the current brand split will end, or will it ever end?
Now, first of all, Callum pointed out that you mispronounced the name. So how is it, Callum?
It's Mick Villarreal, 26.
There you go.
I believe that's. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the name
either.
of the city. So.
Mick Villarreal 26.
Close enough.
Real Al 26.
Al.
Yeah.
I don't think that the brand split's going to end anytime soon. I think that this might be a Triple H type of thing just as much as it is a Vince McMahon thing. But if there's a chance that it's a Vince call after he either quits or passes away, maybe like a year or two after that. But I do think that it's a Triple H and Stephanie thing too. So I think that they're going to keep this for like a long, long time, possibly forever. Because whenever they leave, if they do, of course, like regular cable TV, if they're just all on the network, there's still no reason not to keep a brand split going,
Yeah, I don't know. I wish it didn't seem like it limits them so much. I mean, I understand it from a business perspective, but it seems it really, we see the same feuds over and over and over again and drawn out longer. And I know they do that whether it's a brand split or not. I think this one is going to go on at least another 5 to 7 years, I would say, if I had to estimate.
Yeah, I can see this going for quite a while. I don't really see any sort of ending, so I think they like it because it gives them 2 shows on USA that people are going to watch because they're live now, and so you get to see all the different wrestlers that you wanted to see that you can't see on Raw, so you may want to check it out on SmackDown. I wish they would be able to like make them both good at the same time.
Mhm.
It seems as soon as one of them gets a lot of attention or gets good, the other one starts to fall away. So if they could maybe get that balance a bit better, then they won't have to resort to, so many more people are tuning into Raw because Raw's better, so we'll just concentrate all our efforts onto that and just forget about SmackDown.
I just like when it's not split because there's so many. Because right now with the brand split, take any top guy. Wow, I wonder who they're going to feud with next after this feud. Well, it's one of 2 or 3 guys at the most. It's like it's going to be one of these couple of guys. Whereas when it's all combined, it could be 6 different guys.
Yeah, and the title seems stronger because you only have one world champion, so it means a lot more who the world champion is.
Mm-hmm.
And, like the tag champs or, the tag champs. And you can kind of merge a little bit more tag teams together, and you can kind of, whoever isn't able to really get that top spot, then they become the jobbers and stuff. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't mind it so much if they actually treated them like 2 separate brands. Like, essentially, if they were what it was supposed to be at the start, which is that they would be in direct competition with each other. But far too quickly, they've gone into the lines of, okay, so this is all WWE, and you'll move between these ones every now and again, but this is all WWE. If they'd actually had competition and people, not sort of burying each other's shows, but saying, oh, you don't want to tune in for this pay-per-view, you want to tune in for this pay-per-view, or something along those lines. But they can't do that because they think that if they start doing that, then people won't be tuning in more.
Yeah, because even when like Cena came over, it was like, I'm coming over to Raw not because I don't like SmackDown. SmackDown's great, Tuesday nights, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just going like, I'm coming over to Raw because Raw is the A show. Fuck you, SmackDown.
Yeah, it was good at the start, but then it became just increasingly watered down, and so we have just those little segments where Daniel Bryan and Kurt Angle are screaming each other's face about how their show is better than the other. But other than that, we don't really see the competitive nature, which I think would benefit both brands.
Yeah. It'll stick around for a while, though. And eventually it'll get to that point where they did before, where it'll be like, well, we have the brand split, but we also have people go back and forth, and it's like a Raw Super Show and all that. And they'll water it down, I'm sure, but hopefully not for too long, at the very least. Another question here. These are the next couple are from Ivor Allen. Do you agree Chris Jericho's new hair is a sad, greasy mess?
I don't know about a sad, greasy mess, but it is not good or flattering. I prefer it how it was at the beginning of 2017.
I'd go back to 2007.
Yeah, I think
get rid of the facial hair too.
I like him with the facial hair.
It's definitely not his most flattering look, but he likes to mix things up every now and again. He just doesn't like to stick with the same look for too long, and I can respect that. But this isn't one of his strongest looks right now.
No.
I do like the beard though, because it does make him look like a jacked Neil Patrick Harris every now and again.
Question 2: is Jeff Jarrett in the Fuck That Guy Club already? Sure, why not?
I think so.
He might as well be. I think he merits it.
I think everybody's in the Fuck That Guy Club.
But what reason is he in the Fuck That Guy Club for? We need to have like an induction reason. So it's whether he create the fact that he created TNA.
That's good enough.
Yeah, I mean that's a big enough reason.
This was that other sexual random ass question. Would you rather suck off Ric Flair or Big Show? And then
is this silent when to do him again?
I like how he puts sorry in there though. It's like, sorry for asking that.
I wonder why he's so curious about our answer to this question. Like, oh God, I thought of this really idea that I need Tony Mango to answer this question.
I was going to say, he apologizes, sorry, but it's something that had to be asked.
Yeah.
Well, what's curious about this is, are we talking current state Ric Flair?
That's what I was thinking too, but I didn't want to say it.
I think he's stiff enough as it is.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know. I'd probably go Big Show, I guess.
I'm guessing that the penis size is inversely proportional to body size, so Big Show's probably tiny.
We know that Ric Flair's gotten around. That's more of a chance of an STD.
Yeah, that's true.
But don't you want to take a ride on Space Mountain?
There's a Splash Mountain joke somewhere here.
Yeah. I go Ric Flair just because I think it's the better story.
It'll pop up on a WWE Storytime episode.
Yeah, he'll talk about me in the same way that he talks about fucking Halle Berry.
Last one from Ivor. Is the great Khali Giant Gonzalez's bastard son?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
That's what they should have done with the whole Andre's son is Big Show kind of thing. Him and Great Khali should have been like the sons of the people that they're not sons of. Why not? And then Jason Jordan could have been a triple threat.
I just don't know what the age difference is between the Great Khali and Giant Gonzalez. Cause I think Giant Gonzalez was quite young when he was in WWE, and Great Khali was pretty old when he came in the first place.
Let's see here. Giant Gonzalez was born 1966, and Great Khali was born
1972.
1972. So yeah, not
6 years old.
Not really old enough. Unless he was a very, very busy kid. So question to you, Ivor, who would you rather suck off, Great Khali or Giant Gonzalez? This is unfortunately a question I don't have an answer to, from Howard Starr. What one wrestler from the WWF cartoon era, roughly 1996, that had only a few rare appearances but was never given a chance, would you bring back 20 years later? Wow. I couldn't think of anybody that was really limited, because even the people that were jobbers, they had popped up a lot, like the Barry Horowitz types.
Fantasio. That magician gimmick thing. He had this like mask that he pulled off, and he was pulling streamers out of his mouth. And I think he beat a guy. He had one match on TV, I think, and he beat him by taking his underwear out from like through his trunks, and then rolling him up. But yeah, I think he only had one appearance, so might give him another one.
I'd be down for that.
I think he was wrestling until the 2000s anyway, so maybe he's still in good shape.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anybody.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I can't think of anyone that's like had too few appearances. Like if you were going like slightly later, I'd probably say someone like Kazani.
Kazani, man, that was one of those things where if they would have had a better person portray that character, that could have gone somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that could have been like another Twisted Doink. But they ended up getting a guy that just sucked.
Yeah.
I remember, what was his name? Nick something?
It escapes me.
Yeah, I don't know. He was just the shits. That was a weird time. They were hiring a lot of really terrible people then, like Ricky Ortiz and Eric Escobar and all that.
That's what happens when you let John Laurinaitis run your talent division.
Bam Neely was a part of that. Just really awful signings over and over again. I don't quite understand that.
I bring back Glenn Jacobs as Isaac Yankem. That's what I would do. Revive the gimmick.
A couple of rare appearances. I don't really know if that guy would really work. Maybe let's go with Fake Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
With anything, I forgot to mention this ahead of time, everybody, but if you want to answer these questions, leave your comments below and tell us what you think. So if you can think of anybody else that we kind of just can't think of, toss them out in the comments below, and they might be like, oh, damn, I totally forgot about that guy. It's a question from Declan here. Are there any songs that aren't wrestlers' entrance themes that make you think of a specific wrestler? The example I can give is Limp Bizkit's My Way makes me think of Steve Austin. I'd go with Easy Lover by Phil Collins, reminds me of Hulk Hogan, because he was the whole like WrestleMania 1 and, you know, that kind of a thing. Also, that one Evanescence song that I can't fucking remember.
Bring Me Back to Life.
Reminds me of Christian.
Yeah,
His old
it does sound
theme
like
from
one,
TNA was kind of like copying that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The song "Eyes Wide Shut" makes me think of Chris Benoit because it was the theme song for Backlash 2004, and that was the one where he was defending the championship for the first time in the triple threat match in Canada. And it was one of the first DVDs I owned, so it's kind of just ingrained in my mind that if I hear that song, I have to think Chris Benoit. Which
you see, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's not the best visual image to come up with every now and again, but it just does.
You know, because I was thinking about this, and the first one that popped in my head also is related to Chris Benoit, and it's the song "Headstrong" by Trapped.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I looked it up because I couldn't remember. I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember the promos," and my memory was failing me. But it was used as a theme song to Bad Blood 2003. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember the promos, and the playing Headstrong, and him jumping off the turnbuckle doing the diving headbutt, the flying headbutt." And I looked it up, and he wasn't even on the card, so I'm not sure why. Maybe just because of the move and Headstrong. I don't know.
Another one. It's 3 Doors Down. Was Here Without You.
Super. Oh, Here Without. Okay.
That makes me think. Yeah, that makes me think of Eddie Guerrero because that was the song that was used in his on the tribute show.
Okay.
So I've gone back and watched that every couple of times, and so I hear. Well, actually, there's 2 songs. There's that, and there's Johnny Cash's "Hurt."
Yeah, the whole Johnny Cash and Undertaker connection too. Didn't think about that with WrestleMania, that whole entrance. I don't know if this technically counts or not, but Smells Like Teen Spirit and DDP.
I'd say that counts. They were like the rip-off.
Yeah, it was a full-on rip-off.
Yeah.
WCW used to do that quite a bit, and
Jericho's one had that as well. There was like a rip-off of it was like a popular song at the time as well. I can't remember which one, but
thinking about
Victoria
rip-offs.
Have All the Things She Said. Was that like her actual theme, or was that just like a temporary thing? Because I wasn't watching in that era.
Oh, I was watching it. She actually used it, yeah.
Okay, well, it doesn't count then.
But then they replaced it in the, I think on the network they replaced it because they didn't get the rights.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But thinking of rip-off ones like you guys were talking about, there's a certain couple of songs like, let's see, Bulls on Parade and Bullet in the Head and other Rage Against Machine songs that basically the D-Generation X theme was supposed to sound like. So it sort of makes me think of that a little bit.
What else do we have here? Ben Guest, writer for our power rankings and such. Although past couple of weeks, Calum's been taking the reins on that one.
Yeah, it's definitely game, Ben. Get your internet sorted.
Both Ben and Caden dealing with a lot of internet issues right now, and I've got my whole Comcast stuff that I've been dealing with and whatever. So fucking internet things, man, they're annoying. He asked, what are your thoughts on the takeover names? Are you happy with it being the place name, or do you prefer it to have an actual title? I like the locations, because they, like, if they're going to keep it NXT Takeover, I'd rather it be NXT Takeover blank than to be, like, NXT Takeover Respect, NXT Takeover Arrival, you know? Because it's like, I don't know. You're taking over Rival. No, you're taking over the town. Like, if you're going to give it something else, though, and it's not going to be NXT TakeOver, if it's like, oh, brand new NXT event called, I don't know, Fuck Your Mom, then it needs to be that and not NXT TakeOver, Fuck Your Mom. You know?
I don't know. I'm kind of split on it. It definitely made sense when they were all at Full Sail before they took it on the road. Because you can't just... I'm glad they didn't go just NXT Takeover 1, Takeover 2, like they do with UFC. Because I think that, could use a little bit more creativity. But since it is touring now, I think it works.
Yeah, like it reminds me of the In Your House approach to setting up pay-per-view names, just with the location. I think it works. It gives them a sense that they're taking over the certain city or area. And I do agree with you that they shouldn't use these subheadings now of like rival or something along those lines, just because I don't want them to be putting these things in Full Sail anymore. More along the lines that I don't really enjoy the crowd there.
They've graduated past that point too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still think, though, if they do one in Washington, D.C., that it shouldn't be NXT TakeOver Washington, D.C. They should bring back NXT TakeOver Capital Punishment. That one I'd be okay with, because that's at least gimmicky, you know? But don't do, like, don't go to, say, I don't know, Detroit, and instead of going NXT TakeOver Detroit, calling it NXT TakeOver The End 2 or something. Hated that name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one I hated more, Respect or The End. Probably Respect.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I would have gone with the End more, because The End just has too many like connotations that you don't really know what it means. At least with Respect, it was about respecting Dusty Rhodes, and it had that sort of theme attached to it, and the respect between Sasha Banks and Bayley that was in the main event. Whereas The End made it seem like NXT was ending, and it didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Both of them suck.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Guest 5 asks us, do you think that anybody will attempt to remake Star Wars in the future? And if so, will they remake episodes 1 through 6, or 4 to 6, or 1 to 3, 4 to 6, or all of them? I think it's a guarantee they're not going to.
I hope not.
Yeah, that would be... I mean, remakes are quite commonplace nowadays, but I think even that would be a step too far.
If it wasn't in the Disney ownership, I think that it could be a possibility, but I'm pretty sure George Lucas, in his contract, said that they can't do that. I know that there's something about like that they can't tamper with them, so I'm pretty sure remakes is another thing that they can't do.
They can't send out the original versions, can they?
I don't think they could do that either, no. It's like that he basically like locked in 1 through 6 as being like, this is definitive canon, you can't change it, you can't contradict it, all of that other kind of stuff. And the story group that like people like Dave Filoni, Pablo Hidalgo, Kathleen Kennedy, all the people that are kind of like in charge of the direction in the future, they very much always talk about how they're going to expand things, not how they're going to redo things. So they want to do things like, for some fucking reason now, they want to do a Jabba the Hutt movie. I don't understand how that's supposed to make sense. We know that we're getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, so that's good. That'll take place somewhere between 3 and 4.
I'd really look forward to that.
That should be good. And we know that we're getting a Boba Fett movie, but that's rumored to potentially not necessarily be a Boba Fett movie, but more so a bounty hunters movie featuring Boba Fett. So they like to take these things like the Han Solo film and Rogue One, where they're kind of like, there's a story to be told here. Let's make a TV series out of it, or let's make a movie out of the spinoff thing. Or eventually they're going to do Old Republic. Guaranteed. But I don't think we're getting any remakes.
No, I don't think they should. I think they're classics and they don't really need to be touched. I think they're something that's always passed through to different generations of people. Like, if you become a Star Wars fan because of the first 3, then you see the original 3, and you can still, they're pretty timeless. There's not really too much of a disconnect there, at least in my opinion.
You know what I would be okay with, though? And I know that people at first are going to go, no, Jesus Christ, you're on the wrong side of this. I'd be okay with them editing them a little bit and doing like another special edition. Because we didn't get that for episodes 1 through 3. We got it for 4 through 6. And some of the changes that they made were a lot better. Some of them were terrible, like Han shooting first. That's dumb. But
the only change that I really approve of in the original, or not the original, but the first 3, episodes 1 through 3, is they replaced that terrible Yoda puppet in Phantom Menace with the CGI.
Yeah,
and that looks way better.
That was good. I'd be okay with them kind of like trimming down some of the other stuff. Like, maybe you don't have to do the yippee from Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that kind of cut that out. You can maybe cut out the shot of Jar Jar stepping in poop.
Yeah.
Could you cut out the I was going to say, could you cut out a bit in Attack of the Clones where Anakin's basically talking about how bad sand is?
No, you got to keep that away.
Everywhere.
Yeah. You got to keep that in there because that's been a theory now that's the reason why he doesn't go to Tatooine. So that actually is that's kind of funny. I kind of like that one. But maybe add a couple more scenes in there that kind of spread some things out and do a little bit of proper CGI work on some of the things that still look a little bit weird. In episode 1, there's a section of it where you can tell that the background is just a matte painting of the Trade Federation ships. It looks really fake. And it's you change that, replace that, kind of the way that they replaced the cardboard standees in A New Hope with actual people. That stuff I'd like to see them kind of tinker around with a little bit. But yeah, say Return of the Jedi, when they changed that Yub Nub with the victory celebration, that music is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that Yub Nub thing.
I liked Yub Nub.
Boo.
I mean, the newer one definitely is more of the grand, epic kind of music that I think it's more appropriate. But the nostalgia factor in me likes the Yub Nub.
Let's go to Frankie's set of questions here. Number 1, do you like the Street Profits? I spent 3 years saying, God damn, why don't they just release Angelo Dawkins already? You put him with Montez Ford as the Street Profits, I fucking love them.
They're really... It's weird because their tag team is quite generic and it feels like Crime Time almost, but just a slightly less racist version.
Yeah. It's a mixture of Crime Time and New Day a little bit.
Yeah. And it works. They're getting increasingly popular. It shows that they're popular on the house show circuit because they just came into NXT on debut and people were just all over them already. So I think it works. I wouldn't say they're my favourite tag team just yet. I'd put them not even on the babyface side of things. I'd put them below Sanity and Heavy Machinery. But they definitely have a lot of potential.
They're number 2 for me, right underneath Authors of Pain. And I'm addicted to their theme song, too. I bring the swag like nobody can. Don't mean to brag. What about it? Yeah. It's What about you, Kalen? Street Profits, good, bad?
I haven't seen them together yet.
You gotta look them up. Start looking up just the YouTube clips because you can see them doing a bunch of weird shit, carrying around that red Solo cup and everything. I think it's great. I don't think that they're competing on this week's episode of NXT for later on tonight because it's one of the UK matches and I think 2 other random ass things. But they might be, I don't know. More NXT talk. Who would you put on the NXT roster out of the male wrestlers on the main roster? I would say Chad Gable, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan are options, maybe even Rusev. I wouldn't pick any of those. I'd actually go with Darren Young, R-Truth. I think R-Truth could be very beneficial because he is a veteran and he's somebody who can kind of impart some wisdom.
I agree with R-Truth. I was thinking along the same lines, Goldust. I think having a vet like him.
I would go Goldust, but I think that he actually could do some better stuff on the main roster still. Rhino, though, I think that he could go back down.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
The other ones I had listed down were Aiden English. I think that he still needs to be repackaged again.
Yeah.
The Ascension could do a lot better on NXT. Sin Cara, maybe, but maybe not at this point. And I think that it's proven already that Mike Kanellis never should have been on the main roster yet.
No.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. I almost think it was him coming to WWE in the first place. Just don't think there's a place for him. I think they wanted Maria, and so they brought him in as the package deal. But they're not even doing anything with Maria. So, if I was to add anyone else to that, I'd probably say there's not a huge amount of people that need a lot of work. I might consider moving Heath Slater down.
The Colognes.
Yeah, where have they been?
I think one of them's injured, right?
Primo's been injured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd almost move Dash Wilder back to NXT for a while. If Scott Dawson's injured, we might as well have Dash Wilder competing in NXT for a bit.
Yeah.
I just don't like the idea of once a tag team partner goes away, just the entire team disappears off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
I always wanted to do like work with the Revival or something, just a storyline where Dash Wilder gets paired with someone that he doesn't want to be with just because he wants to get onto TV, and then it starts a conflict of interest.
Lars Sullivan. So
he's the actual good tag team
partners.
Yeah. I can't think of anyone else really off the top of my head. Maybe Apollo Crews.
Yeah, I can see that. They kind of dropped the ball with him, definitely.
I think he's actually in a pretty decent spot overall. I mean, like, he's not doing well, but him with the Titus Worldwide type of thing, I think that's a good spot for him. We also get asked the same question as far as the women go, and the two that come to my mind are Summer Rae and Alicia Fox.
I would agree with that.
I think they're probably the two that could benefit the most. I'd still put Lana back in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have Lana as if she's going to be a wrestler, then she needs to be in NXT. But if she's going to be a manager, she stays on the main roster.
That's what it seems like they're kind of doing now with Tamina, which is sort of strange.
And I wouldn't put Tamina in NXT just because I don't want to inflict that on the women in NXT. I still like women's wrestling in NXT. So,
you know, it would be kind of nice to see Paige go back down, just to be like, here's your fucking punishment.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Although I still think they should just fire
her. I think that's a possibility. We'll wait and see.
I would not be surprised in the least.
So here's our monthly Big Brother question. Well, there's a couple little tied in here. He says, first, what are your thoughts on the whole harassment situation towards Jess and Cody in that big fight? I don't really know exactly what that is, 100%, so I can't really comment on that. Secondly, do you like Josh? And finally, who do you want to win other than Paul? I don't like Josh when he's going after somebody that I like, but when he's going after somebody that I don't like, I think it's kind of funny, so I'm hypocritical when it comes to that. He's annoying as shit, and I totally would never, ever be able to withstand being in the house with him, but sometimes it's kind of funny to just have him fuck around with people. And if Paul doesn't win, my next two choices would be either Mark or Kevin. Those are the two other ones that I like the best out of that. Big Brother's been pretty interesting recently. Even though it's kind of like one guy is like controlling the entire house. That's the guy that I like the best. So it's sort of like, yay, this is a good season so far. You know? Question about Oreos here. Do you like the cream or the cookie more of the Oreo? I use the fork method. Now, if you don't know what that is, this is something I came across a couple of years ago, and it just revolutionized my Oreo habits. You take a fork and you poke it inside the cream, and you use that to dip the Oreo. That way, you don't have to get your fingers covered in milk, and you don't, like, you know, if your fingers are kind of dirty, they don't kind of, like, fuck up your milk, and you can dip the entire cookie in, and it's the easiest method of doing it. And then you just eat the whole thing. You wait about 3 seconds. That's around the right time for it to get saturated but not get too soggy. And, Wait, shove the whole thing in your mouth.
Do people actually put their fingers in the milk?
Some people do.
You hold the end of the cookie and you dip all of it except for like that last 10% or whatever. Who cares if not the entire thing gets covered with milk?
That's why you use the fork.
Oh boy.
Try the fork method. It will change your life. At least as far as Oreos go.
To answer the main question, I prefer the cookie part more. In fact, when the very rare times I get them, I get the thins that have less cream in the middle.
I've never eaten an Oreo, so I can't comment. I don't eat chocolate.
I'm not a huge chocolate fan.
Yeah, so
you guys are so wrong. It's
there's an equivalent called in the UK called a custard cream, which is essentially the same, but it's just like a biscuit with cream inside of that. So in that situation, I prefer the cream. But that's not really the question he was asking. But I don't eat Oreos, so deal with it, Frankie.
I'm going to take your sound clip of I prefer the cream, and I'm going to apply that to the Ric Flair question. I'm just going to edit that. I still want to try digestives. I need to find them somewhere.
They sell them at what is it, Meyer around here. I bought a pack of them. They're actually pretty good.
Yeah, they're nice. I like them.
There's like an international food section. There's a British section. I got some. I just don't like the name.
Yeah, it's very like, I don't know. It kind of seems like you're buying a cookie called Gas X or something.
They're better than they sound.
They look good.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody didn't tell me that they were called digestives and they were just called like, I don't know, Chocos or something, I'd be like, all right, cool, yeah. Chocos, by the way, if you don't know, they are the DC Comics equivalent of Oreos, and Martian Manhunter is addicted to them. A little bit of trivia for you. Have you ever been into an NXT show? I don't think any of us have been, right?
No, I almost went to one in Cleveland, and I really wish I would have, because that's when it was a couple of years ago. The roster was really strong at the time. It was before they called a bunch of people up, and didn't end up going. But I saw clips of it, and it was an amazing show. But I have not gone. No.
I am going to try really hard to go to NXT Takeover Brooklyn next year. I've been wanting to do that the past 3 years, and Brooklyn's far enough away that like I couldn't ever really like justify going unless like a bunch of people would go, and everybody just kind of crapped out and didn't want to do it. But we know we're going to get it for a 4th year, and this time around I'm going to really start harping on people, because it's been like, well, this has been the best fucking NXT show for like 3 straight years. Let's kind of assume the 4th year is going to be good too, you know? We know that this is a bad thing when it comes to Anakin, but do you prefer the sand or the ocean more? I'm not a beach guy. I hate both of them.
I'm not crazy about the beach, but it's a good balance. You have to do both. You can't just be on the beach. You can't just be in the water. But yes, the sand, it's coarse and rough and irritating. And it gets everywhere.
I live quite close to a beach, so I occasionally like to go down there. I'm not very big on them in general, but I prefer the sand to the ocean. I just don't like getting wet.
This one's going to be making me hungry. Do you like pancakes? Pancakes are my favorite, especially chocolate chip. Pancakes are amazing.
To me, pancakes are a once a year thing to me. Once or twice a year. I cannot eat them very often at all, because Mitch Hedberg even had a thing about it. It's like, you have to start strong and end strong. You can't be like pancakes where they're amazing in the beginning and then 10 minutes through you're fucking sick of them.
Yeah, that is a good point. See, when I eat breakfast food, this is like my go-to thing. I usually go with French toast instead of pancakes. But whichever one it is, either one of those two, not waffles. Waffles are awesome, but I tend to like them more with like ice cream and stuff. But either French toast or pancakes, put syrup on there, don't put butter on there. It just gets washed away. I don't understand that. But I have a variety. I like to eat a lot, or a little bit of a lot of things when I eat breakfast. As far as like, like if I go to like a restaurant or something like that. If I'm going to eat breakfast on my own, I don't. I just don't eat breakfast. But give me like 2 pancakes, some hash browns, a couple scrambled eggs, some toast, some home fries if I didn't have hash browns, definitely some sausage to go with whatever the bread thing is. And I'd rather eat that, because by the time I eat like, a short stack of pancakes or something like that, if I've eaten all the other stuff, I can kind of go like almost clockwork, eat like a little bit of pancakes, a little bit of eggs, a little bit of ham, a little bit of whatever. And then I don't get sick of the pancakes as much. That's my strategy.
I feel like we've learned a lot about you in just a very small span of time.
You can also tell that I've got OCD kind of tendencies, how I do literally balance out how much I eat of all the stuff, where I'll be like, all right, I'll cut up like this pancake and I'll make sure that I eat like everything going around, not around in a circle, but like I'll eat a little bit of pancakes, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, to make sure that I've got like 1 bite each of everything left. And then that'll be the final bite. And I'll save like, those were the good looking home fries. I'm going to eat those last. Like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I save the best for last when I eat too. But I have to, your point you brought up about waffles. Waffles are far superior to pancakes in my opinion.
Now, do you go for like the Belgian waffles that are kind of like really big, thick, and crunchy? Where you do more of like the I guess like the Waffle House type or something, where it would be like a little bit more on the side of the pancakes, where it's like that softer type?
Probably the Waffle House kind, the not huge, thick Belgian waffles, but the middle of the road kind of ones.
Pancakes in the UK are pretty specifically an annual thing. We have a day dedicated to them. So that's the day that we eat pancakes, and the rest of the year they're just too much of a hassle to get together.
They're kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
So you gotta mix it together, and you gotta you gotta throw away the first one because it always sucks.
It's just seems like easy to make, but they're always so easy to fuck up as well. I just don't want to eat burnt bread, essentially.
You know what's something pancake related that I actually had gotten annoyed enough that I wrote an article on Out on Limbs eventually about it? Why are they called like 50 things? You got some people call them pancakes, some people call them hot cakes, some people call them griddle cakes, some people call them flapjacks. It's like, no, they're fucking pancakes. Don't give me this griddle cake shit or flapjacks. It's like, that's so weird. Flapjacks to me seems like the only people that should ever call them flapjacks are people from like the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dude on The Simpsons with the murder horn. Like that guy that was with Abe. That guy can call them flapjacks. Man, I'm hungry now. I haven't eaten yet today. And I don't plan on eating breakfast food, so that's going to be disappointing. Who are your top 5 favorite cartoon characters? Mine are, meaning not mine, but the Frankie who had sent the question in. He says his are SpongeBob, Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, and either Daffy Duck or Homer. Originally, I was going to go with 5 Simpsons characters. I was going to go with Homer, Principal Skinner, Moe, Chief Wiggum, and maybe like Lenny. But I got to throw in a little bit of love for Cartman and Randy from South Park and Fry from Futurama.
See, I came up with 2 lists, one of just Simpsons characters and one of non-Simpsons characters, because I was thinking about that too. My 5 Simpsons characters are Homer, Mr. Burns, Chief Wiggum, Dr. Nick, and Moe.
Good list.
And my 5 non-Simpsons, Bugs Bunny, Foghorn Leghorn. I'm a big fan of him. Starscream from the original Transformers cartoon, Ren Hoek from Ren and Stimpy, and Zoidberg.
Zoidberg's a good one too. Little known fact about Starscream: he was a robot in the sky.
He was.
My one, I'll include Simpsons character because I was a big fan of Simpsons, but I'd go with Groundskeeper Willie.
Another good one.
Yep.
Yeah. Futurama is my favorite cartoon series of all time, so I'd probably. But my favorite characters from that are Fry and Zap Brannigan.
I'm surprised none of us went with Bender.
Bender's good. Not my favorite.
He's okay. Show. Like I'd put him he's probably outside my top 5 for just Futurama characters, because I'd probably put Professor Farnsworth ahead of him and Hedonism Bot. So.
Hedonism Bot.
I like Butters from South Park.
Oh, Butters! I forgot about him. He's amazing.
Yeah, and Daffy Duck. Daffy Duck's my favorite, like classical cartoon character. Maybe Porky Pig as well.
When I look back on like Looney Tunes, it annoys me more than anything because I realize every single character is exactly the same.
It's a little bit, yeah.
You got Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. The story is one of them's chasing the other one. You got Bugs Bunny and either Elmer Fudd or Yosemite Sam. They're chasing Bugs Bunny. Pepe Le Pew is chasing after the cat or whatever. Tweety Bird, Sylvester. Even though it's not Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry. It's like, could they only do somebody chases after somebody? Was that it?
I guess that's what people were after in the 1950s and 60s.
Jeez. It was like that, and isn't it funny if people cross-dress?
Mm-hmm.
But Daffy was always like the one that stood out to me, because he was kind of the one that would break. I mean, Bugs Bunny did it as well, but he was one that would break the fourth wall, and was kind of the member of the member of the Looney Tunes crew that nobody seemed to like. But that just made me like him more, because I always thought he was so I remember just watching episodes thinking, oh my God, Daffy Duck's so underrated. It's like when I'm watching a wrestling show and just watching Chad Gable or Rusev or
Push
something.
Daffy
Yeah.
Well, even with some newer cartoons, basically every episode is the same, like Ed, Ed, and Eddie or the regular show. A lot of that stuff, they just kind of have a formula and they just kind of riff on it. So, I mean, it's not an uncommon thing still in cartoons today.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say an honorable mention from like more recent cartoons for like my list would be Tina from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, there's some good characters.
Yeah, Tina's one of my favorites. She's just like so. I don't know how to describe it. She's so like she's not depressed.
She's so
but
awkward.
She's depressed. Just slightly awkward. Just says what's on her mind, even if it's not in the like real context of the situation.
I like all three of the kids. I like all three of the kids on the show, but for different reasons. I know a lot of people like Tina the most, but I like all three of them.
When I went to New York Comic Con the first time around, the first panel that I went to was a Bob's Burgers panel, and they were like, "Who's a really big Bob's Burgers fan?" And a whole bunch of people are like, "Me." And they're like, "All right, we got some trivia for you." First question they asked, they're like, "What is the name of Bob's son?" And this kid goes, "Bobby Jr." And the whole fucking place just goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
Wow.
A couple other ones now that I'm looking at my list of TV shows that I had watched. Yes, I have a list of that. That I had forgotten about. If you count them, the superheroes from different cartoon series, I don't really count them all that much because they're comic book characters. But it's like, Batman from Batman the Animated Series and so forth. The most recent thing would probably be maybe Sabine from Star Wars Rebels, and kind of dig that character quite a bit. Didn't mention Family Guy, of course. Peter Griffin is another great one, and we mentioned the Critic earlier. The Critic is a great character of Jay Sherman. I'm not coming across any other ones really as far as that. There was like some old back in the day stuff. Like I used to like the Dr. Katz cartoon show.
We've got one more from The Simpsons, Rainier Wolfcastle.
The columns, they do nothing.
I was elected to lead, not to read.
Upon close inspection, these are loafers.
That's probably my favorite one. That's so good. Hans Moleman too. Another great character. Troy McClure is up there. God, man. Lionel Hutz.
For the rest of the podcast, can we just remember Simpsons stuff?
Yeah.
I still do want to do just a full all talk show episode of just hey, remember this thing from The Simpsons? And just label it, hey, remember The Simpsons or something.
It will be our longest episode ever.
God, it'll probably last 7 weeks.
Mm.
And everything would just start off with hey, remember that Simpsons? That Chris Farley SNL sketch.
Remember when you were in the Beatles?
Yeah, that was awesome. Another question here. What kind of phone do you have? I have an LG G6.
The Nokia brick. No, just kidding. It's a Samsung S7.
I have an iPhone 4S.
I was really hoping somebody would go with rotary.
Yeah, I have just this giant cell phone from the 1980s.
Yeah, one of the ones that's could double as a walkie-talkie or as a blunt instrument to kill somebody with.
Yeah, the old Paul Heyman or Paulie Dangerously phone.
Yeah, you had to pull out the little antenna.
Yep.
Text messaging was what do you mean text?
Mm.
Is Alexa Bliss overrated in the ring? I don't think so. I will admit, if I'm going to talk about Alexa Bliss being the best on the roster in certain capacities, I tend not to think as much of her in the ring as much as I think about her character.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her character down 100%, and she is just in a totally different league from everybody else. But she is not the best in-ring competitor. She's certainly not the worst.
I agree. She's not the best wrestler, but I'd say she's the best overall. I think she has the best promo skills by far.
If you do that kind of balance scale kind of a thing, like you would in like a video game or something. She's not one of those ones where it's like her skill as far as like a promo work is so high up, but then she's also handicapped by being so terrible in the ring. She's still really good in the ring, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But if you told me pick 2 women to have like the best possible wrestling match, she's not going to be one of the 2.
No.
I definitely wouldn't say she's overrated in the ring. I don't hear a lot of people talking about how amazing she is, like, in the ring. I've heard them say that she's had good matches, and she has had good matches, and she's definitely improving. But I don't think people say, oh, she's definitely the best wrestler. I've never heard a single person say that about Alexa Bliss.
Yeah. So I don't think she's overrated. I think she's rated just where she should be.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure Sasha Banks disagrees. Jealous as fuck.
Mm.
Is Sasha Banks is Nia Jax improving to you? Yeah.
I think so. I was really hoping that she would get the number 1 contender spot for SummerSlam, but yeah, I would like to see her in that spot someday. I'd like to see her hold the title sometime.
I think she needs to hold the title at some point, because you can't have this monster character that's just tearing through everybody in the women's division, and then just she always constantly falls short at the final hurdle just because you don't want to put the title on her at this point in time. I think she's definitely improving. It's slightly worrying that she's injuring people, but that obviously injuries happen. It's not ballet, as JR would say. So I think, but she's definitely pacing her matches quite well, and she's developing new moves that make her matches more interesting.
I think the true test is she needs to be put in a match with Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens. If at the end of it he's going stupid, and injured, then Nia Jax has a problem.
Yeah.
Do you watch America's Got Talent?
Nope.
I did for the first 2 or 3 seasons, and I got tired of watching all the musical performances.
Yeah, same thing. I watched it the first year or 2, and then I just can't watch reality TV anymore.
Yeah,
Outside of Big Brother, that's the only one I watch. I can't take them. Yeah.
I watched the first couple of seasons of Britain's Got Talent, but past that, I just lost interest. They didn't seem. I get tired with these reality shows, not just due to the fact that they're formatted just to get the judges to be like bigger stars than they already are. But I just didn't like the fact that nobody actually went anywhere after they won it.
Yeah, so everybody's like make a big deal about them, and then you never hear them again, except for maybe they're like doing some local tours or something.
Yeah, it just started to bum me out a little bit.
What is your favorite fruit? I'm gonna have you guys guess what mine is.
It's a mango.
Ironically, not.
No.
They are good, but it's actually pineapple.
Oh, okay. I would not have guessed that. My favorite is cherries, followed by Honeycrisp apples, and specifically Honeycrisp apples, because most apples are just kind of bland. But Honeycrisp, those are the good ones. Cherries, I would say number 1.
Yeah, I'd go with either grapes or strawberries. They're my go-to ones.
Strawberry is my number 2. Although I'm weird where I like sour fruit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people are like, oh, if it's like sweet and juicy and whatever, and I'm like, if it's sweet, it tastes a little bit too like sugary to me almost. Which I have no problem with sugar because I fucking eat chocolate every single day. Oh, by the way, something that I tried last night that people need to do: Nutella and Nilla wafers. Very good combo.
Okay, yeah, doesn't sound bad.
But yeah, I like sour kind of pineapple, sour strawberries. Usually when people go, oh, this isn't good, it's really sour, I'm like, fucking give it to me, man. I want my apples to be really, really crunchy and sour. Not full on sour, like we're not talking like Warhead type sour, but just like, I don't like fruit that's like too sweet. That also is one of the reasons why I don't like bananas too much. Which I should take that clip and put that after the Ric Flair question too. Speaking of banana cream, no. Next question has nothing to do with it, thankfully. Is New Japan Pro Wrestling starting to get competitive with WWE due to them moving into the USA more and crowning their first United States champion, Kenny Omega? No, I don't think so.
I mean, I love New Japan. It's just something that I just recently discovered like a couple of years ago and been watching fairly consistently beyond that point. But it's a stretch to say that they're in competition with WWE. I think it's a good alternative. It's a healthy alternative if you do get tired of what WWE is producing week in, week out. But I think it's so much of a barrier to people that are familiar with the US style of wrestling, and even the like the luchador or Mexican style of wrestling. It's such a big disconnect. Like, it took me about a year almost to actually find myself enjoying matches, because I kind of felt, oh, it's just a little bit like, it's quite weird the way they structure their matches, and I'm still not entirely on board with it. I think there are things that they could adopt from the American style to make their matches not so much better, but safer, and still generate the same sort of reaction.
I don't think it's direct competition, but I hope it gets to that point, because, going back to like the Monday Night Wars, each one had to try to outdo each other. So they're trying to give the best thing for the fans in order to get those viewers. So I think a good, healthy competition would be beneficial, but I don't think it's at that point right now.
One thing that I think is going to hurt them a lot is their name, because we had Ninja Warrior in Japan, and it eventually got really popular. And when it came over here, they immediately redubbed it American Ninja Warrior. So New Japan Pro Wrestling, they can't call it New America Pro Wrestling necessarily, They might. I mean, they might be able to get around doing that. But calling something New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think, and having a lot of Japanese talent, there's going to be a lot of people that are just kind of like, I don't want to watch the Japanese wrestling show. I want to watch the American one, the WWE, I think that's going to get in their way.
Yeah, I agree.
It might not have as big an impact in the US, but it could maybe spread a little bit more, like, worldwide. I don't think there's as much of a disconnect there.
Yeah, I think that there's, at least the very least, I'd like to see them try.
Yes.
What's it going to hurt, Although I do want Kenny Omega in WWE. What do we have here? Are you still a fan of the Fashion Police? They are one of my favorite things in WWE. I am, at the very least. I think they're getting a little bit tired of an act, but I still think that they're good.
Yes. Yeah, I still like the segments.
Yeah, they're funny and refreshing, and they're two underrated guys that are finally getting some good exposure week in, week out, so I'm still on board for now.
Out of these 5 superstars, who will get a world title run first? Or who will get another world title run first? Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, or Seth Rollins?
I'd say
reaction to me is either Owens or Rollins.
You think?
I don't think Ambrose is getting it soon. I really doubt that Bray Wyatt is.
I was thinking Balor.
Yeah, Balor was the one that sprung most to my mind. I don't know why. Just because he's on Raw, so I don't see him taking the title from Lesnar. I mean, I think Owens is the most likely one to be thrusted back into the main event scene after what he's been dealing with AJ Styles and what he eventually does with Shane McMahon. Reaches conclusion. He's probably the one who's most geared up to go straight back into the main event scene. I think Rollins and Ambrose are going to hold the tag titles for a little while, so they'll be distracted from it. I think Wyatt's never going to win another world championship, so.
There's something that I think is going to play a big factor in this, and that's whether or not we get a superstar shakeup. They haven't said anything about it yet, so we might not. But if Finn Balor goes over to SmackDown, definitely him.
Yeah, I can see that.
And we know that Styles has mentioned that Finn Balor is somebody that he would like to work with. You got to figure they just lost John Cena. We could get Finn Balor against Bobby Roode, Finn Balor against AJ Styles, Finn Balor Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor Kevin Owens. They kind of need another babyface like that. So I'm very suspicious that Balor might be moving over, especially because they don't seem to really be using him too much on Raw.
They don't have an idea for him at the moment, it seems.
Yeah. Like, he did that little feud with Elias. That was like a 2-week feud.
It went nowhere.
He's got the thing with Bray Wyatt that might be over now, but it's kind of strange. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Balor going over and winning the title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple other questions that I had gotten rid of that I forgot to get rid of on my list, so let me scroll down there. All right, Peter's questions. If you could be any Disney hero or villain's kid, who would you be? He says, since I've seen The Descendants and The Descendants 2, he wouldn't pick his number one Jafar, but he would pick Hades. I've not seen The Descendants, so I really don't know anything about that series, but I don't know about being somebody's kid.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird question. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems. I'm trying to think of just anybody in Disney that it'd be fun to be the son of or something. Maybe Hercules.
That's the one thing I was thinking of, was just so I could be a god.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, at least a demigod at that point.
Maybe King Triton or something. I mean, he's not really the main hero, but I would be, I
wouldn't want to be Nemo's son. Or not Nemo's, the other, who's the guy? The Marvin.
Oh God, what is his name? Is it Marlin?
Marlin, that's it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be his son. Just don't want to get stolen away.
I was gonna say, if we go the other way, you could be Bambi's mom.
Well, that goes back to the what do you want from your childhood again, and all the depressing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I want to be Bambi's mom, so you can just put me out of my misery. Did they ever do anything with Bambi's dad?
Maybe. I have no idea.
Yeah, off the top of my head, it's hard to think of like a Disney hero or villain that I would think would end up having like a decent enough kid, because it's like, who do you go with? Because you say like Aladdin, for instance, Aladdin and Jasmine. I still wouldn't want to be in that fucking desert. That sucks.
The sand, it's coarse. And
There's always a drawback with being involved with a Disney character, it seems.
You know who probably the worst is? The son or the daughter or whatever of Belle and the Beast.
They don't have children, they have puppies.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Hades, that might be a good answer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hercules was never really one that I really liked all that much. So
why would you want to be Hades' son? Like, surely you'd want to be Zeus' son instead.
Oh, you know what though? If you're Hades' son, you probably have to be like a goth kid. So fuck that. Some emo. Oh, everything's darkness around me, literally.
Only see death everywhere.
Yeah. His name's Dad. Have you ever thought of doing a cutest WWE Pets tournament? No. No, I've never thought about it.
Has Caroline not convinced you to do that yet?
She probably will at some point. Peter brings up Ambrose's dog Blue, and Alexa Bliss has a deaf pig. It's like,
okay,
that's crazy. I don't know any of the pets though, but I guarantee you it's not going to be fucking Natalia's cats that'll win.
Hey, fuck off.
2 reasons. Hate cats, and goddamn it, I'm sick and tired of hearing about her fucking cats.
It'd be the only opportunity for Natalia's pussy to be in the final of the tournament.
Hello.
So that part that's so true, because she keeps getting knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think she won the first round against Bailey one year, and then got knocked out in the second round. But no cutest pets tournament. Maybe I can convince Caroline to do the work for me, and she'll do it though. It'll be every answer will just be, they're all so cute, they're all precious little babies. Be like, here's a deaf pig. Oh, he's deaf, he's so cute. Yeah, this year the tournament, I think we added a couple of different things, but we're not going to be adding pets. Another question here. If Daniel Bryan leaves WWE, does that mean Total Divas or Bellas gets canceled? No. No. They have way too much invested in that show.
I don't think they can. I mean, I don't think they'll cancel it, but I also don't think that if they have to keep going along the lines of like Daniel Bryan being involved, they'd probably just say former WWE superstar, just along those lines.
I was going to say, I imagine the contracts are completely separate, so
might be. There's probably like overlap with it. because we're not going to be seeing Eva Marie anymore. And they kind of had their issues with Paige, and they kind of separated herself a little bit, but they could just keep them in the mix and just say, like, you said, like, former WWE superstar, or they could just not focus as much on Daniel Bryan. Like, they could do Bree's stuff without Daniel Bryan. They did that with other people. Like, you haven't seen everybody's boyfriend or girlfriend.
No, but I think that would be more the case for Total Divas. I think for Total Bellas, he needs to be a main character.
Yeah, that's a different story. Because that, you can't really do Total Bellas and only have Nikki. It is kind of the Nikki and Cena show more than anything, though. Which is kind of one of the main reasons why I don't like watching that show.
Mm.
Plus, it's like that reality garbage. Who is better on-air agent, Titus O'Neil or Lucha Underground's Famous B? I have no idea who Famous B is. He's not that
famous enough. I know, right?
He's a obviously like Peter said, he's a talent scout in Lucha Underground. They both have like a very similar success rate, which is like none at all. I mean, I'd say Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil's more charismatic, and Famous B just hasn't really been involved enough in Lucha Underground to get me interested. I don't even know. He doesn't really even have a client right now, so.
Was that Titus O'Neil barking in the background?
Yeah, my dogs didn't like this question, so we're going to move on.
They're like, hey, stop talking about the cutest pets thing. It's me. You know who's better than Famous B? His
Famous A.
Famous A.
We need to get out more.
Saw that one coming a mile away.
I almost went with Famous C. I would have said, like, the third time's the charm. Did you know Brock Lesnar isn't breaking the rules by not defending the title? The 30-day clause says if you are medically unable to compete. If that's true, interesting, but I still fucking hate it.
Well, if that's true, then why did any of the champions show up ever?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not gonna defend my belt.
Oh yeah, well, you're gonna defend your belt tonight. My impression of every general manager ever.
Right here in New York City.
And that match starts right now.
Yeah, and it's a tag team match, play
against the Undertaker.
Yeah. And Jeff Harvey. We're just gonna merge all the GMs together. Excuse me. People power.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Who do you think WWE values more, Charlotte or Alexa Bliss?
Oh, come on. Is this a real question?
Yep.
One of them is a legacy.
The other one is Charlotte.
Yeah, right.
Randy wants this question. There's no legacy here.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think it's very clear that it's Charlotte. Do either of you guys disagree?
No.
I
think that they realize now that Alexa Bliss is better in some regards than Charlotte, because they do seem to be focusing more on Alexa Bliss than Charlotte. But no question, if they were told that they needed to release one of them, they'd release Alexa before they would have released Charlotte.
And I think that would be the right move. But I don't want to see either of them go.
Yeah.
No.
Prefer Alexa Bliss, but Charlotte is very, very talented.
I think it's good that they're both like the alpha females of each brand at the moment. I think eventually it's going to lead to both of them being on the same brand and feuding with each other. But it seems quite weird because they're both better as heels, so I don't know why they would feud with each other.
Maybe because they're trying that whole Charlotte babyface thing.
Yeah.
Tell you what, though, this kind of sounds morbid to say, but if Ric Flair dies, Charlotte Flair is going to be such a big babyface.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Well, I shouldn't say if Ric Flair dies, when. At some point, he's going to die.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, her brother died and that didn't make her much of a babyface either, so...
Yeah.
I mean, Paige even brought it up and it didn't make her a bigger babyface. She was still booed at the next pay-per-view, so...
That might be because it's not Rick, because it's like, if something happens to David Flair, people aren't going to be like, oh, she lost both of her brothers. It'll be like, oh, there was David? Forgot about that guy, you know?
That's a former WCW United States champion you're talking about.
At least he didn't die in the womb.
What a terrible promo that was. Do you know any status updates on Darren Young, Beauty and the Man Beast, Summer Rae, the Hype Bros, and Dolph Ziggler? Was Chris Jericho a one-off? Ziggler's back.
And better than ever. No.
Jericho was supposedly a one-off, and I have no idea about the rest.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Young is apparently cleared to compete. He's apparently in the best shape of his life because he's been posting images of himself saying that he's basically become the gay, the Jinder Mahal for the gay community. And so he'll probably get a massive push when he comes back. No idea about Heath Slater and Rhino.
The Hype Bros were in a match this week against the Usos, so that's something.
Yes, they're back to like jobbing for the tag team divisions. I'm glad that the tease that they made of splitting up actually went somewhere, because it clearly did. Dolph Ziggler's involved in something, I don't care. And Jericho was a one-off just because they didn't want to have they wanted to put the title back on AJ Styles, but they didn't want Kevin Owens to take the pinfall.
Well, and he was in the area but filming Southpaw.
Yeah. It was good of him to do that. Just essentially just lose another match. When he went.
I didn't watch the newest Southpaw yet. Is that good? I'm guessing it is. The other ones are great.
Yes, all of the episodes are amazing. You definitely need to watch them. I watched all 6 of them. It was 5 or 6 of them in a row. Yeah. And it just, I think they all take place before the first series.
Okay.
Just because I thought when I watched the first season, I thought that was like the end of Southpaw wrestling. It was leading to the end of it, and I won't spoil too much, but some of the characters don't return or they have different personalities.
Yeah. It does seem like it might be a little bit of a prequel. I don't think it's as good as the first season, but it's funny. And it's like, there's 6 episodes. They're like 3 minutes a piece or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to just binge them.
I really love the Rusev and Lana bits.
Oh, they don't pop up. So that's disappointing. But we do get Chad Too Bad.
Oh yeah, that's the reason why I think it's prequel, because they're, again, don't want to spoil it, but it's in the first episode anyway, that they're back as a tag team. And obviously they were rivals in the first season, so...
And he's not like missing his leg and shit.
Yeah.
What question did we leave off on? What do you think of WWE's main roster tag division? I always look at the roster before Mailbag, and I totally forgot Slater, Rhino, and the Hype Bros were even a team. They are dropping the ball with some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, Gallows and Anderson. They haven't been doing shit with them. So no. I really want them to turn babyface.
It's quite a weird situation, because I think the 2 tag team matches on SummerSlam were 2 of the best matches on the entire card. Yeah. So the people at the top of the tag team division are doing really well, but then there's just nothing underneath them, and you just can't repeat the same Usos and New Day match month in, month out. Eventually, you need a bit of variety, and that's where they're lacking. But
I agree with that.
But Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin are now in the tag team division apparently, so that might add a bit of interest to it.
Let's see. What do you think of Aiden English and Eric Rowan teaming up, and Luke Harper and Sin Cara teaming up on the house shows? Absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Luke Harper mask.
Isn't it just a black Sin Cara mask?
Yeah, exactly. I think it would work. I think they should bring that onto TV. It's just something to do, and like you say, we need more tag teams. And I can think of odder pairings than Sin Cara and Luke Harper.
Sorry, yawning here. Do you think that WWE is stalling the Fashion Files because they don't know who did it? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
I think guaranteed.
They probably had about 3 or 4 ideas about who's going to do it, but they just don't know which ones to commit to just yet.
People keep getting injured too, so.
I don't think they even had a single idea.
I know. I originally thought it was going to be Sanity, but they decided to keep him in NXT. Maybe that was just like Triple H saying, "Oh no, I want to keep Sanity in NXT as the champions." And it doesn't make sense for the Authors of Pain to do it. So I think now they're completely scrambling for ideas.
I'm so convinced it's going to turn out to just be the Ascension, because that's the only team that they've been doing anything with.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll just be like, yeah, it was us all along. We just wanted to eat more pie and stuff. And then they'll go, oh, okay, well, can we abandon the story now, please, everybody? But I hope that's not the case. I hope they actually have a plan, but I doubt it. They're doing that stall shit where it's like, well, we'll figure it out. We'll start the storyline and we'll drag it out for a couple of weeks and we'll sort it out eventually by the time we get to it. And then they go, oh, damn, what do we do?
Mm.
In Tony's fantasy booking, he talked about a 6-man title like Lucha Underground's Trios titles. Would you like to see WWE get the Trios title too? I gotta clarify that. I don't want a 6-man title. I just want a third belt, essentially. Like, the New Day, when they're champions, all 3 of them should be wearing a belt, I think. But it should still be the same tag team championship. Mm-hmm. So if you have, like, when the Usos win the titles back, then they just have 2 titles. They don't need to, like, add a third person. And you should change the belts, too, because those are fucking ugly.
I think that works. The Trios is a very, like, lucha-inspired thing as well. Like, the whole concept of it, I don't think it would fly in WWE. Not just because they don't have 6-man... No, they have 6-man tag team matches quite often, but they've never had anything really dedicated to it. I just don't think it suits their style.
I'm still not too sure what the Trios thing is, like, too much, but it is just, like, 6-man tag matches over and over again, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very lucha-orientated thing where you don't have to tag in and out of the matches. If you exit the ring at any point, then one of your partners can come in without being tagged.
Ah, okay. That's kind of interesting, but nah, I don't want to see that in WWE. It seems a little bit too, like, gimmicky.
It'd probably work best in the Cruiserweight division. But even then, it would be a bit of a stretch.
Plus, you'd need a lot more cruiserweights.
Well, I'm sure they can find some. They got them in the first place, so they can start using some of the ones they just don't bother using.
Yeah, Kalisto, Finn Balor. Do you think Shinsuke Nakamura will be okay after dropping Cena on his neck and injuring Aries' eye? Yeah. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think they hold too much against him. I don't know how much I give credence to the idea that he lost Jinder because the spot with Cena. I don't think it will damage him long term, but that may have cost him the WWE Championship, knowing how fickle Vince McMahon can be about these things.
I don't buy that. I think he was planning to lose. As far as, like, as much of a plan as they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they were going to have him lose something based off of the Cena thing, he would have gotten his ass kicked by Baron Corbin or something. Then again, Baron Corbin gets punished for some reason, so I don't know. But I think he'll be fine. If he keeps fucking people up, though, then it'll be a different story. And again, you put him against Randy Orton, see what happens. On Renee Young's podcast, she thought someone broke into her house and was about to kill her. Jesus. No worry, it was Dean who, upon opening the door, mooned her. Then she and her co-host Stacy said, "Nobody moons anymore. Why do you think nobody moons anymore?" Cell phones and YouTube, and people claiming that it's sexual harassment.
Yeah, I think that second part is a big part of it too. Because what used to be considered a harmless prank is now, considered assault.
Yeah, I'm traumatized for life because I saw ass cheeks. You don't understand. It triggered me. I was, I don't know, attacked by an ass.
We live in, like, a different time. That sort of stuff is just, it's childish, but, like, it was the fun kind of childish. Now it's the, like, you're a perv type thing instead.
Yeah, I hate that kind of crap nowadays. It's like, so what? It's a butt. Everybody has a butt. They all look the same, essentially. It's not like you're, I don't know, rubbing up on somebody on the subway. It's like, yeah, then you're a fucking sicko. Moon? So what? Some fucking college frat kid mooning outside of the fucking car? Who cares? Worst case scenario is like that story time thing where they're talking about Andre the Giant mooning people. That's like, that is something to actually be upset about. Seeing Andre the Giant's ass. Who do you think, I thought that this was a funny question. Who do you think pays for the dinners on the table for three? If WWE is paying for table for three's meals, shouldn't that be cut instead of talking? That's like one of my favorite questions for this round. I don't think it costs them that much money, but it did make me think about something, and I thought, it'd be kind of funny to do. Get a Dudley Boys edition of Table for Three.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Bubba Ray, Devon, and Spike just sit at a normal ringside table, and they don't have any food. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and then they just put one of the waiters through it at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'd have to at that point. Or just Spike. You could just go through. Tying into that, though, another Table for Three question that's here. Who do you want to see dine on Table for Three? His suggestions are the Shield, the original Wyatt, and the three McMahons, which I would love to see all three of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all sound really good.
Those are all great ideas.
I had a couple other ones that came to my mind. Unfortunately, we can't do one of them, which would have been Undertaker, Kane, and Paul Bearer.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really good. But if you obviously can't get Paul Bearer now, I think Undertaker, Kane, and McFoley would be a good one. I'd like to see Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, and Michael Cole.
Yeah.
They haven't really done anything about like commentators.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't do Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, like that kind of thing. That would be great. A great one that could have happened in the past would have been Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and somebody. But sort of a more modern day equivalent of that, I think Austin, Rock, and Triple H would be a good one. But my go-to one that I think would be amazing, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Sonny. And you have to sit her between the two.
Yeah, I think that would be quite a heated discussion. I'm worried it would just be just them eating because they just couldn't talk to each other about it.
I would still watch the shit out of that. Just them awkwardly munching on food.
One that's like more like recent. I go 3MB.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Jinder Mahal Dream.
Yeah,
they've all won championships since then, so they can just look back on that stuff. Like it's quite an interesting dynamic to what they used to be, and a lot of people won't be familiar with the fact that they all used to be in 3MB. So it'd be quite good to see. Maybe
you have to put Slater in the middle there too. It's like, oh, so what are you guys up to these days?
I'm the champion. Oh, what about you? I'm the champion. What about you?
I got kids.
Yeah, we both had the same. I just hosted an episode of Game Night. What about World's Greatest Tag Team? You got Shelton Benjamin's back in the mix. Charlie Haas isn't fucking doing anything, and Kurt Angle's GM. So that works. It's another trio.
I always like Team Angle. I think that'd be great.
We haven't had a chance to see the original NWO yet because obviously Hogan's been ostracized from WWE. So
yeah, we had Nash, Hall, and X-Pac.
That was fun.
It'd be good with Hogan though. Maybe something with like Hogan and Bischoff and somebody else.
Oh yeah, what would be a third person for that? Hogan, Bischoff, and
Vince.
I mean, you put Vince and any two other people, it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
I'd say the other one would probably be maybe it would have to be someone with creative control in WCW at that point in time. So I'd say either Kevin Nash or Kevin Sullivan.
What if we got Vince, Bischoff, and Dixie Carter?
Oh.
Or Vince, Bischoff, and Jeff Jarrett.
I'd go more Vince, Bischoff, and Paul Heyman.
That'd be another one, yeah. And it would just be, here's how you're wrong. No, here's how you're wrong. And then Vince would be like, well, I'm the one who's fucking still in business. So I've signed your paychecks, both of you. There's a lot of Table for Threes that could be really fun. Some of them are
make more of them.
More than others though too, because it's like they could have like trios that are kind of lame, but at the same time could still sort of work. Like, you could do kind of like the Hardy Boys and Gregory Helms. But it's like that one is not one that I'm really super interested in. I'd rather see the Hardy Boys and Lita.
Yeah, that would be a good one. But that wouldn't be slightly awkward with Matt and Lita.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe
have
not.
Matt Lita and Edge.
That'd be even better.
Maybe
and then you could have Beth Phoenix in the background.
You could do like a UFC styled one. So you have Brock Lesnar, Ken Shamrock, and Dan Severn.
It's like Lesnar just doesn't talk.
It all just ends into like a giant like shoot fight.
I would say that there could be like some ECW ones that would be kind of interesting, but I think that those guys have just like always talked about ECW constantly, that it would be the same stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if it was like Tommy Dreamer and RVD and Paul Heyman, I'd hear the same crap, you know. But I would kind of be interested if you could get them all drunk, and if it would be like Sabu and Sandman and somebody. Just get them like completely wasted and see what happens.
And see what stories they reveal. Or what about Paige, Xavier Woods, and Brad Maddox?
Then it's like, are the cameras rolling?
It's like, yeah, seen any good movies lately?
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas. That'd be a lot of fun. We got 2 more questions here from Peter, and then that'll wrap us up. Since smacking talk is the next big thing, what happens to smack talk if Renee and Brian come a-knocking? I've got a job for Renee.
Jesus.
Production coordinator. Get your mind out of the
Exactly. Yeah. I think there's room for both of them, you know, too. Might add a little bit of credibility to it.
Some much needed credibility.
Yeah. And some funding as well. Much needed funding.
Final question though. What do you think about Glow? Actually, he has a couple other questions to go along with this, so I'll try to read this pretty quick. Did you catch all the superstars appearances? I didn't realize that was Riley, but I pulled up the wiki before his scene was over, so I know. Do you need to know how to wrestle to be on the show? Because Renee Young and her co-host Stacy said they want to be on Glow. Did you mark out for Carlito's Apple? Do you think backstage Ruth and Debbie would double turn? I was thinking it. Did Debbie remind you of Charlotte? And why is she so much better as a heel? I was thinking that. Do you want to see a season 2? All right, so that's a lot to unpack, but first things first, Glow. I thought it was great.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was really enjoyable. I binged I watched the first 2 episodes by myself, and then I said to Angie, I said, hey, we got to watch this all. So one night we binge watched all 10 episodes in a row. So, you know, there are like, I think there's 10 of them and they're a half hour, right? So we watched episodes and I just lost you guys, didn't I?
Nope.
Hello?
Yep.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry. I don't know what something just went on with my connection there. Sorry.
It wasn't feeling the glow.
Hold on. I got some kind of error or something. I'm sorry. I don't know what that's all about. I'm sorry. You guys can hear me? We're good?
Yep.
Yeah,
we are good.
Okay.
And
sorry.
I'm not even going to bother editing this out. People can hear it.
Great. Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So what was I saying? Yeah, we watched them all in a row and I really enjoyed it and I'm looking forward to a season 2. I think that was really cool how they did it. Yeah, I did see a lot of the superstar appearances. Carlito's Apple, I did sort of mark out for that. That's true.
Did you guys notice that was Carlito at first? I didn't.
I did. I was like, I think that's Carlito. And then I had to look it up. I immediately went on IMDb and looked it up, and I was like, oh yeah, it is him. Shit.
See, Brodus, I was like, oh shit, that's Brodus Clay. But with Carlito, I was like, this dude just does not look familiar to me. And then it was like, oh shit, why? I really should recognize him. Yeah, I thought that was great. I really liked that. I'm really looking forward to season 2. My favorite fucking thing of the whole thing was that they were just kind of like, I don't know, let's make her welfare queen. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a hilarious turn. I did not expect that.
I feel bad. I haven't had time to see it yet.
You definitely
you have
check
to watch
it out.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable.
I don't
watch it.
I don't have Netflix, so that's probably part of the reason why haven't seen it yet.
You can find torrents online.
And no, I don't like to risk it too much. I'll probably get Netflix just get another free trial to watch it.
I'd say it's worth it. Yeah, just for that, a month worth of that, $10. I'd pay $10 for that. That series.
Yeah.
Well, if you still have the free trial option, then $0. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll definitely get around to it soon. It's just, especially when Glow came out around about a similar time to when the New Japan G1 Climax was going on, and I was kind of like just wrestling, just everything was going on at that point. So I was just like, oh, I can't deal with any more wrestling. Like, this is already fake wrestling, so I have to watch fake wrestling. So,
well, even if it wouldn't have been something that I thought was kind of interesting, I still would have checked it out. Like, I don't like Glow as far as like the history of it, so it wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait to see the history of Glow. No, I've never had any tie to that. Like, something in the past that didn't appeal to me, whatever. But
I watched it in the 80s, but I, never thought in a million years that they would reference or make anything referencing it, bring it back. But it's cool.
Well, as far as I'm aware, it's like a completely like it doesn't represent what actually happened.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like inspired by true events and heightened and stuff. Basically, like what normal wrestling would be.
Yeah.
But you tell me beforehand that there's going to be an Allison Brie sex scene. I'm like, all right. She's in my top 10 celeb list.
I was not familiar with any of her work before that, so that was kind of completely new. I had nothing to base it on, but I enjoyed her in the role.
Say Community.
I don't watch that.
First episode of Community, I'm like, I'm digging this chick. But yeah, Glow is something I definitely would recommend to everybody. Not everybody will like it, of course, because there's different things that you like and you dislike, but I do think that it's something worth watching. And like Kaylin said, it's like 10 episodes, it's about like half an hour a piece, so it's pretty easy to just binge watch them all. And they're not like really dramatic, super crazy stories too, where you're like, even say like the Defenders and stuff, like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, all that. You try to watch like Daredevil season 1, all 13 episodes in a row, you feel exhausted afterward.
Yeah. I'd say Glow is very accessible. Is the word I would use.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Mark Maron is fucking great in it too.
Oh yeah, yep.
And if you are really, really into it, and you kind of also like some of the same stuff that I watch on YouTube and stuff, the movie Trivia Schmodown from Collider just actually had 4 of the women from Glow on there. They had Machu Picchu, I can't remember her name, the brunette, the cute girl. God, what was her name on the show? I don't remember her name. And they had Kia Stevens and Jackie something or other. So the 4 of them did a little movie trivia thing on there, so you should check that out if you're interested in seeing a little bit more from them. But Machu Picchu, I thought that was great too. Definitely recommend it though. Thumbs up. And that's it for the mailbag for August. Lots of questions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I always enjoy doing this. This is probably my favorite special feature that we do here. So if you did not get a chance to submit your questions, or if you had some alternative ones that we didn't necessarily get to that you kind of want us to definitely answer in the future, send them in for the September edition, which will be sometime around the end of September, but I'm not quite sure yet exactly what date. But I can always backlog them, and I can always, we can get to them a little bit later on. And leave your comments below of the answers for some of the questions that you want to tell us your answers for. But I'm going to pass this over to the other 2 guys here to talk about some plugs. Galen, go for it.
Yeah, you can check out Northwest Ohio Wrestling on Facebook. Got an event coming up just this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have Abyss coming in to wrestle with us, so that should be fun. And then lots of events throughout the rest of the year. So check out Northwest Ohio Wrestling on Facebook. And if you would like to quiz yourself about WWE or any other category, check out sporcle.com, SPORCLE. And you got anything coming up with those quizzes, Tony?
Not that I'm aware of right now. I need to try to think of some that I haven't done yet, because I was originally going to be like, all right, I'll do a Hell in a Cell one. Apparently I already did it. So if you guys do have any, like, you find a good quiz, send it my way. Maybe I'll do one.
Yeah, check out the quizzes when Tony does them. They're fun.
Now, you said that you're going to have Abyss there. Are you going to have the Abyss or just a Abyss? It's one of those things where you got to check the fine print.
That's right.
You could be like, we're going to have Abyss.
Oh, it's B-Biss.
Biss Williams.
Is it Abyss or is it Joseph Park? You aware of what personality he's going to be taking on at this event?
It is Abyss.
Oh, it is Abyss. Good.
Yep, it's on all the posters and everything. And he wants our title.
You said that as if it was like somebody talking about like their kid. It's like, oh, and he likes chocolate ice cream. And he wants our title. No, little Biss. Callum, what about your plugs?
You can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14 and check out the weekly articles on Smark Out Moment because they're really good. Largely because I write them.
Yeah, do that, everybody. Check out smarkoutmoment.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel as well, and ring that bell and click off the little section that'll tell you that you can check off for notifications. That way you get notified, obviously, of when we're uploading our new things. And the next thing that we'll be uploading is more than likely the hot tags. So stay tuned for all that coming your way. And whatever happens with episode number 300, again, leave your comments below and tell us if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see for episode 300. And we'll try to get around to doing some of that stuff. But that's going to do us in for this edition of the Smack Talk podcast. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.